Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. This is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. Before I get started in this episode, though, we do have a Kickstarter going on for a crossover book between my book, Like Father Like Daughter, and The Haunting. Like Father Like Daughter is about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. Haunting's about a young boy who has ghosts following him and does not want to take the responsibility of having the supernatural be connected to him. So in this crossover, we get to see the two groups of characters here join up at Casey's school for a Halloween dance, and chaos ensues when zombies and ghosts appear, and someone is animating these ghosts and zombies, so they have to figure out who that is. So hopefully you guys could go check it out, and that is live on Kickstarter now. Also, of course, in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week, because at the end of the video, I do the viewer's pick of the week. So let's jump into these reviews. I had 10 comics, which is a pretty small number of books for a haul for me. So let's jump in, though. Number 10 for me is Magneto and the Mutant Force issue 1. I got this on whim because I'm not following Heroes Reborn, but I wanted to check out some of the tie-ins. And like I said, it was kind of a lower week for comics for me for the amount of comics I had in my pull. So I'm like, all right, I like the X-Men. Let's see what's going on with the X-Men and Heroes Reborn. And honestly, it just didn't really do it for me. It was very wordy. I felt like it was very crowded at times, and I was kind of lost with the issues. So I didn't quite like this one. The artwork was pretty solid, though. There's actually another issue for this as well, but for me, it was a bit hard to get through, honestly. So I'm giving that 1.5 stars, and that is number 10. We are moving on to number 9. So number 9 is another X-Men book, and that is X-Men issue 20. So this issue focuses on Mystique, and honestly, the part I was intrigued by was the ending. So it actually leads into what seems like it's going to be Hickman's new comic book, which is Inferno. I was a little confused of who it was at the end because it looked a lot like Moira, and obviously we've been waiting a long time to see that character show up. But then the Irene Adler aspect of the character, I thought maybe it was related to Destiny or Sherlock Holmes. So I was a little confused by the end because we didn't actually get the character's name. But that's the only part I really liked. I wasn't really intrigued by the Mystique stuff. It all kind of feels a little disjointed to me, this series, because there's so many different characters they're focusing on and different parts of the X-Men mythos they're focusing on, so it's a little harder to get through, and the artwork wasn't as strong as usual. I felt like the colors were a little flat here. So overall, giving that 2 stars, but I am very intrigued to see what this fall event's going to be and what Hickman's new book's going to be and how that involves Moira, because like I said, I've been looking forward to that character to see what's up, and why Emma Frost is going to be involved with that series as well. I guess we'll find that all out in Hellfire Gala. Next week, Hellfire Gala starts, so I'll be following all the issues for that one. So I gave that 2 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Miles Morales, Spider-Man issue 26. I normally don't get this book. I was following it for the Clone Conspiracy. I wanted to see, I think it was called Clone Conspiracy, his clone story, Clone Saga, and I just wanted to see what it'd be about. Maybe it's a good jumping on point again for Miles. But honestly, I haven't really loved this volume of Miles Morales. You know, it just doesn't have the same vibe to me as old Miles Morales issues have had. I think he's kind of struggled since he's moved from the Ultimate Universe to the regular universe, in my opinion. I know it's been a while, but I don't think the book has been fantastic since then. So that's kind of been a shame. And, you know, I was happy that they were trying to put some more eyes with the clone story, but it just doesn't interest me, sadly. The clones are kind of flat, and obviously we've seen this story many times for every Spider character, so you have to make it a little different. But, you know, if you're following Miles' story, if you've already enjoyed the series, there's definitely some drama in this issue. And there are parts I enjoyed. Like, I like seeing Peter Parker and Miles interact with each other and get a bonding moment. I didn't quite love the Ganke and Miles' interaction. I don't love the unnecessary drama of the issue. So we'll see where it ends up going, the book, but I don't think I'll be picking up the next issue. I think I gave it a solid shot for this clone story. But the artwork is very solid for the book, and the character designs for these clones are very solid as well. But overall, I'm giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, and that is Blue Flame, issue 1. So I have not been able to get into a Vault book. I've always wanted to get into their books just because I've heard so many great things. And haven't been able to get into one because I'm not usually a big sci-fi fan. I'm not really a heavy sci-fi fan. But this looked interesting. I've been really enjoying the current Iron Man run and Chris Cantwell's writing in general. So I'm like, okay, this might be a good jumping on point. And then also it looked a little bit more of a superhero story because he's like a kind of Adam Strange type character, it seemed like from the cover. So then we get to see that there's this kind of big opening of him in space and interacting with all these aliens, and it looks like it was a dream, and we see that he is a superhero, but not the superhero you think he is, where he's going into space. It seems like people know of him. Is he a cosplayer? I don't really know, honestly. And then in the middle of all this, there's this random girl who's pregnant with this random guy. And then we go back to our main character, and there's a big moment of a shooting in this kind of meet and greet area, and he gets shot, and this is how he's like connected to these aliens. Now, I thought this issue had potential, but the storytelling was really choppy for me. I was a little confused at aspects. Again, I didn't really know what type of hero he was, or if it was like a cosplay hero, what was going on with that, because we didn't really get to see any fighting. And then you have this kind of dreamlike sequence of him actually interacting with aliens and him being kind of this average Joe character. And again, then we get to see this kind of random girl, and I'm like, okay, is that his wife? And it doesn't seem like he has a wife, so I'm like, who's this random girl? So there was a lot of pieces that I kind of wish connected a little bit more seamlessly to make this a stronger issue 1. But it might have given me enough for issue 2. I don't know. I want to like this book. I really like the artwork for this book a lot. I like the vibe of the art style, but the writing was a little off for me for this one. So overall, giving that 3 stars. We'll see if I get issue 2, and maybe it's just my personal reading of it, but it just was a little confusing to me. So giving that 3 stars. Moving on to number 6, another new book that came out, and that is Reptil, issue 1. A book, honestly, I've been anticipating. I did a most anticipated video a couple months ago about this one, and they called this Marvel's next biggest hero. And I'm like, okay, that's a big statement. Excited to see why he's Marvel's biggest heroes. I kind of hardly remember him from Avengers Academy, and also Avengers Academy was years and years ago, so it's been a while. They definitely explain who he is. So if you don't know anything about Reptil, you never read Avengers Academy, they have this whole exposition scene of like, this is who Reptil is. This is what he's been doing. Now that Kamala Law is happening, he's not a hero anymore. He has dinosaur powers. And I feel like they introduced way too much at the end. I just felt like the character drivenness of the story wasn't really there. It was very explainy. A lot of dialogue. And again, very much explaining what's happening instead of showing us what's happening, making us feel what happens. And there was actually some really interesting topics by the end of this issue, like his parents maybe being alive and his family member having powers. Like, cool, but there wasn't enough build up to those moments to be like, oh, I can't wait for issue 2 to, figure out more about this character, because there was no emotional attachment. And obviously this is a new character, so it's already hard to do that. But because it was so explainy this issue, I think it really dropped the ball. And even the artwork I thought was just okay. It wasn't bad, but there was times where I thought the pencils could be stronger. The colors does save this book for me with the art style. I think it was very bright, which was nice. But overall, I don't know if I'm going to get the next issue. I wanted to like this book, but I just don't think they gave us enough in this issue 1, even though I think some plot points had potential. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Stargirl. So this is a one-shot, and I love Stargirl. She's one of my favorite DC characters, and I was very interested to see what was going to happen with this book, and that the ending says we're going to be getting more Stargirl, so that's cool. I'm curious to see who's going to be on that title. And this one, it's a very one and done, which is why it's not like number 1. It's a fun teen adventure, teaming up with the JSA, learning a little bit about the JSA, and I like the themes of this issue. Like, I like that Miko and Courtney became friends in this issue and their relationship, but it was really long. I feel like it did not have to be as long as it was or as expensive as it was. The adventure kind of wasn't as interesting to me. Like, I like the theme of it of, okay, a kid died, a hero died, that's why they're being so protective of Courtney and Amiko. That was interesting, but there was just a lot of characters kind of thrown at us, and if you're a big fan of the JSA, I think you'll enjoy it, but I like Courtney's side of the JSA more than the actual JSA, so that part didn't do as much for me, but I mean, I think for JSA fans, they've waited long enough to get a little flavor, to get a little bit of story like this. It's an overall fun one-shot. I don't really think it does more than that, but yeah, it's fun. If you have enough room on your pull list, put it there, but it's not a must-read in my opinion. So giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is My Girl, Black Widow, issue 7. Another really solid issue. This book, as I always say, has blown me away, and this issue continues to do that. I will say this is a little slower to kind of put the pieces together, but necessary pieces with some really beautiful action sequences, where we get to see White Widow and Black Widow try to figure out how to team up with each other, and Black Widow kind of being ironically, a more solo hero in this regard, even though she's been on so many teams, but mostly because they have a different opinion on how to treat this girl. This girl has powers, and Nat is like, well, I want her to have a normal life, just kind of connecting even to her other family story. And White Widow's like, well, she's 20 years old, she can make her own decisions, and she has a lot of potential. Why not just see where this goes and at least have her help herself? Then Anya shows up, which is a lot of fun. I do like Anya Cortez. I think she's a fun character. So it's cool that we get to see her team up. The artwork for her and a lot of these characters are so good from an emotional beat and comedic beats as well. There's a lot of great comedy in this issue. And then the ending, we get to see this character who's similar to that girl, the girl that they've taken in, has died, and because of their powers. So the girl's like, oh no, am I gonna die? What's going on? I don't know anything about my body, and I don't know what's going on, and I feel like I'm being controlled by this person, and I don't have a choice, even though Nat throughout the issue is trying to make her have a choice and show that she doesn't have to be trapped just because someone has been trying to trap her. So overall, really solid issues, some really interesting character themes here, again, between the little girl, between the whole Red Room situation, and even the previous arc with the family, and some beautiful artwork as we get to see those action sequences between White Widow and Black Widow. Really great book. I've been really enjoying it, and every issue is definitely a pleasant surprise. So go check that one out. I give that 4 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is Detective Comics issue 1036. Another really solid issue. I've been loving this creative team on Detective Comics, Mariko Tamaki and Dan Mora. Dan Mora's artwork is chef kisses indeed, from the more emotional beats of murder to some of the action sequences here as well. There wasn't as much action, but I think, again, the more gloomy side of this story he does really well. And what I enjoyed about this issue, it kind of keeps you on your toes. You know, we've had over 1,000 issues of Detective Comics and so many detective stories with Batman and so many murder mysteries. How do you make this different? And still, with the tension that Mariko and Dan Mora are building, it really is paced very well, this issue, as some people are thinking that Bruce Wayne killed this woman, I think her name was Sarah, and we get to see other people kind of suspect that as well. This girl Lydia, maybe Huntress, and it's the story of, okay, who actually did kill this girl, and canceling out some suspects along the way. I thought it was really interesting in bring in Lady Clayface, so it wasn't a zombie that was Sarah, but Lady Clayface, and it seems like she saw stuff of Sarah, which is why she looked like her. And yeah, a lot of interesting characters being introduced here too. I'm curious about this Lydia character. I'm curious about this whole eye situation that's going on, where there's like this kind of thing coming out of their eyes. And Huntress was a really nice surprise. We knew she was going to be there, but a really nice partner for Bruce Wayne, as she even keeps him on his toes as they figure out this murder mystery. And I really like the backup story and how that backup story is connected with the main story of her losing a friend and all these girls being murdered in Gotham. So I really like it, and especially from a female perspective writer, and seeing a more feminine story for Detective Comics has been nice as well. So really solid issue, giving that 4 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, another Bat-related book, and that is Robin, issue 2. Man, oh man, another great issue. I really like the premiere, and issue 2 does such a good job at character work, once again, with Damian Wayne. I think Damian Wayne's always at his best when he's interacting with characters that have really nothing to do with his gloominess, right? He's always hanging out with Batman, but when he hangs out with, like, Stephanie Brown or Dick Grayson, it kind of brings this light. Even John Kent for people like Super Sons. It kind of brings this light to the darkness of Damian Wayne, where he's like, okay, you need to learn how to be a kid. And this issue, we learn a lot about the island without it feeling like exposition. It really does seamlessly tell us information with that people don't die on, well, they come back to life, and there's only 3 chances to try to win eternal life, which is super interesting. And we get introduced to some more of the characters, Connor Hawke, also Ravager. I love her so much. I love my girl Rose, and to see that Rose might be training Robin and Robin being very defiant, but her knowing that it's not that he needs to learn how to punch, it's him needing to know how to be less serious and showing his cards because of it. So the whole end of the issue is like, okay, we're gonna teach you how to have fun, and that was so good. And that's literally the best type of story for Damian Wayne. And I really like the character building between Flatline and him, and Ravager and him, and again, the introduction of some of the other characters. So overall, really solid issue that explains a lot, but also gives a lot of character beats. The artwork is so good for this book as well, and I just love the world that's being created here, and hopefully the character building that we're going to get to see with Damian that we haven't seen in a while, honestly. I feel like he's kind of been in a rut for a little while, so it's kind of nice to see that they're making him grow again. So giving that 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to my number 1 pick. This has been my pick of the week. Every issue has come out, and that is Shadecraft issue 3. Man, oh man, this book is so good and keeps you on your toes. So it kind of has a more superhero feel, this issue, where she needs to learn more about these shadows. And that woman with the gun from the previous issue works for this agency that knows about shadows and is really trying to teach her. And I love just the character moments here between this new woman and her learning about the shadows and talking about Karate Kid, but also her and her brother, which I think really makes this book as well. But then the twists and turns of finding out that the brother is not there, and it might be someone else who's this shadow, like what's going on. I love that you just don't know where this series is going and really what the series full scope is about, and I actually like that aspect of it. Every issue kind of feels a little different, and it doesn't feel serialized or formulaic by any means, and the artwork is so good, from the shadow aspect of it and seeing these kind of giant splash pages to the smaller moments between brother and sister, or even love interest and Zadie. And we also get to see a little bit more of the high school drama, and it really plays into the YA teen aspect of this book as well. And yeah, it was just a really solid issue that gave a lot, from character beats to plot progression, to just some wonderful action and artwork. So really love this book. If you're not reading Shadecraft, please jump onto this one. It is such a good book and underrated in my opinion. So that's my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Of course, in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week. And the viewer's pick of the week from last week was obviously Nightwing. We all love Nightwing, and here are some comments about that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely go check out my Kickstarter. Just to mention that again, that'll be in the description below and in the comments below. Go check out my comics like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her Dancer, and also our comic book podcast where we talk all things comic book news and our top 5 comics of the week. So hopefully you guys could check that out. That's Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Comic Book Weekly. Thanks guys. Bye.